going to give them one more minute. I know we're running late. They jumping on in here, too. We're running a little late. Apologize. But we got a really big show for y'all today. Hey, I'd like to thank Emmy for holding on. Emmy is always in first, man. He always through the door first. Thank you, Emmy. We appreciate your support. I'd like to welcome everyone to HBCU Coach's Corner. My name is Rocky, and I'm along with my co-host, Mr. Stephen Campbell, the bishop, the detective. And the prayer line will be open tonight, just so y'all know.
All right.
But for our featured guest, the man you all come to, our featured host rather, the man you all come to see, the SWAC legend himself, that man who one night in Mississippi against Willie Satellite Totten and Jerry Rice threw 6 touchdowns. He has also coached a SWAC MVP. He's also won a SWAC championship at his alma mater. None other than my man, Johnnie Cole. Hey, Coach, you've done a whole lot, Coach. It never failed me. I learned something about you. Every person I talk to, Coach, I was talking to Ashbury over at when we were in Grambling and when we were in Southern.
SWAC MEAC Challenge game.
At the SWAC MEAC Challenge. I learned something new about you. I talked to other guys. They tell me even more about you, Coach. Coach, you're a man that done lived several lives all into one, Coach.
Well,
you know,
first of all, I thank the man upstairs, man, who have blessed me. And next to them, man, I had 8 brothers, man, that really, really raised me, you know what I mean? And make sure I did the right things and learned the right things. And, you know, I was an athletic machine, you would say. But they kept me away from all the drugs and the streets and all that kind of stuff, man, and made me just focus on who I wanted to be and what I wanted to be. So it ain't me. And then, of course, I had a lot of great players, which we're going to bring on today, man, and a lot of super coaches around me. As you guys know, that they've went on and done great things. We got one in the SWAC right now. They're about to take the West. So, you know, I can't say enough, man. And I'm just that vessel, I guess, to be able to produce so much in such a short time that I had being in the game.
Yeah, Coach, it's hard to believe that, you know, your time in the game, though you've been around it basically your entire life, but your time as a head coach, coordinator, assistant, you put a lot in the time that you were given, the opportunities you were given to coaching. And Coach, it's remarkable that you were able to do all that in a really abbreviated career.
Without a doubt. You know, I still got gasoline in my tank, man. And, you know, I still got my whistle hung up in the closet and some of them old shoes I had. But, you know, man, hey, you know, if it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, man, look, I've done my deal. And this is my way of giving back, you know, coming on here every week with you guys. And I can't say enough about you guys, man, and the time we've been together and spent together in the last year. And over 2 million views, Coach, in 1 year, going into our second season. You know, we're going on the right path. So, you know, I'm very excited. Every Tuesday, I get opportunity to try to share the SWAC, the MEAC, and Black college coaches, you know, with our culture and who else is watching, you know, and be able to learn something on this show.
Hey, Campbell, I got to bring you in on this conversation right before we move on. Do you have any updates on anything that's going on with FAMU or anything around the SWAC you want to comment in before we move on to and bring our guest on?
Well, I'm going to say this. Our coach is preparing to play North Carolina Central. Says they're going to do some soul searching. That he's going to have to coach better, so he will be the coach on Saturday. That I can report. How about that?
Man, it's rough. It's rough. It's truly rough in the SWAC. And in the 5 years I've been covering the SWAC, been a huge fan. I always thought, and I've said this many times, I always thought that face painting, crazy stuff that white folks did with their colleges, I thought that was just white folks being white folks. But I've come to understand that this HBCU stuff may even be more serious in some ways. And so it's tremendous to see all of the fandom, the outright fanaticism, if that's a word, about how the SWAC and MEAC fans feel about their schools. I haven't seen a fight yet, but that ain't mean one ain't happened. But I just ain't seen it. So, and I'll ask Campbell this: has it always been that passionate since you've been watching the last 50 years you've been watching?
Man, listen, I'm gonna say this again. I think people that are fans, and man, this go all the way down to the high school level. You know what I mean? You go to certain towns, you know, people, man, they love their schools, you know, and for, you know, again, I know the football is not the same far as talent level, but people still love their schools. People still want to win championships. People still want to beat their rivals. That all matters. You know, this game that we're going to talk about, Alabama State and Jackson State. Hey, man, those people not worried about if Ole Miss is playing Alabama. They worry about Jackson State and Alabama State. That's a championship heavyweight fight. Everybody's going to be watching it. Everybody's going to be excited. Jackson State's homecoming. Alabama State's going to bring a lot of people. And for them, that is a big game. That's just as big as whoever's playing in the SEC that weekend. So, man, for me and for people that grew up with it and went to school and things like that, man, we love to see games like this. And all we want is just to see really good football. And we want our coaches to do well, and we want our schools to do well. So, you know, that's why I'm excited to talk to the young man, because he was one of those guys that people went to go see. You know what I mean? He kind of bought some seats in the building there, didn't he, Coach?
Hey, look, man, this guy could do it, boy. He could really do it, man. I was just excited, man. You know, he had been just inducted, and we'll talk about that. But, Coach, when you say Willie Totten, when you say Steve McNair, when you say Leon Murray, you say Darnell Kennedy. When you say Bruce Eugene, you say Darnell Kennedy. And this guy could do it, man. I had a great time of coaching him, and I want to bring him on, Coach. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the most prolific passers in SWAC history. And like I was just saying about the great ones, he finished number 6 in all-time passing back in 2021. I'm
2020,
sorry. Yeah,
2001.
2002. Yeah, 2001, 2002. And he's still ranked in the top 20 of all times. And now they're throwing the ball every down. I met him going into his junior year. He had started 2 years before us, but they were 2-9. I think he won 4 games before I showed up. And this kid he had everything, man. He could make every throw. He was an athlete. He was probably a better basketball player than a football player. But he was hungry. He was hungry. He wanted to be coached. We became real close, you know, on and off the field, man. And I tell you what, when he got it, we brought the hobo offense in there, man. He sucked it up like you sucking up some biscuit and some gravy. And he was able to change plays, recognize fronts, recognize coverages, get us in the right play. I can't say enough about him. My man, Darnell Kennedy.
I appreciate that, Coach. Thanks for bringing me on, man.
Yeah. Well, you know, man, we always talk about quarterbacks in the past and how we compare them now to then, man. You know, we still got to give you, and we have Bruce Eugene on last week. Of course, we have Willie Totten on. You know, your name is synonymous with them, man. You know, now that you see the future of the SWAC, and back when you played, what's your thoughts on how things are going as far as that quarterback position?
Man, I think it's fascinating how much it grew from, you know, the time when I played versus the time that it is now. You know, the offenses that they were running now, it seemed like it was the offense that we ran that we started running 20 years ago with the zone, a lot of the zone reads, a lot of the don't block the ends, you read the ends and you throw off the end and you it's like a pass off the end. And just the freedom that they have now in that kind of offense that me and you had back then is just, I think we laid the blueprint as far as what teams are doing now.
Yeah. Well, and I probably need to start, man. Of course, we got a lot of Alabama State people watching, a lot of fans. You know, kind of tell us what you're doing now. Right after you got through, left to Alabama State, you played in the All-Star game. Kind of start from there to bring us to where you are today.
Well, you know, I played in the blue-gray game. I went in there and I was having a great week of practice, completing everything. I was talking to all kinds of NFL scouts. And then about 3 days in, they had a little mini combine thing where they do the measurements and all that kind of stuff. And then I weighed in at 185. So I was so after that, after I weighed in at 185, I didn't talk to another NFL coach after that. I was real friends with a scout that was from Mobile, and he went to he was the GM for the Baltimore Ravens at the time. And he was saying, man, you got to go out there and complete everything. If you're about to get signed by anybody. So you got to go out and play in this game. It'll be 100% in order to get a shot in the NFL. So I did get drafted. A team in Canada, they had my right. So I went up there to play in Canada. I played for 9 years. I played 3 years in Calgary. I was traded to Ottawa, played 3 years there. And then Ottawa folded and I played 1 year in Toronto. And then after that, I went to play a little bit of arena. I played arena for 5 years, 2 years for the Georgia Force. And then after that, I became a deputy sheriff, worked for the Clayton County Sheriff's Office for about 11 years, 5 years as a lieutenant for a fugitive unit. And then now I'm working for the Fulton County District Attorney's Office as a senior investigator.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Man,
Did a little coaching.
Wait, Coach, wait a minute. I'm going to let you get into it. But, Darnell, I want to say this. This is what an HBCU education does for you. This man is not a football player. This man is a professional who plays football. So I have to let people know how we move, Kennedy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just got to let see. People don't understand when you go to HBCU. This is what happens. You see what I'm saying? See, we get these jobs.
Them good jobs. Get them good jobs.
Anyway. So I just gotta set that table. So Coach, go ahead. You know, I want people to this ain't just a quarterback we talking to.
Man, my cheeks hurt from smiling because, man, this is what coaching is about. You know, seeing a young man, I had to put my foot in him, talk to him about how important education was. And, my biggest thing with Darnell is you're going to be judged by pass percentage and winning losses. And I remember one time watching film on him, and he would drive the team all the way down the field, from running most of the time and throwing. Then he would get down there inside the 5 and throw a damn interception. I said, see, Darnell, that's what you got to make us win. You can't give up. You can't because I'm tired. Let me just throw one in there. You got to make us win. And I think he bought into that. Well, how did you feel that I know we were a different staff from what you had, you were 2-9, 2 years straight back to back. What you think the difference about a winning coach? And I ain't gonna say the guys you had a losing coach, but they just didn't win with you guys.
Well, yeah, I came in with an old school coach. He was there at the school about 20 years before I got there. Mm-hmm. Coach Houston Markham. And I didn't go there to be the starter. Alabama State was my only scholarship. And then when I showed up to camp, I was the number 6 quarterback on the depth chart. So by the first game of the season, I ended up being like the backup. And we played Jackson State, and they kind of got into us a little bit. And he looked at me and said, let's see what the young guy can do. I went in there and went 6 for 8 and 100 yards, and I was the starter ever since. And so, just going through that, and I think we went, like you said, about 3-2-9 or 3 and something. And they ended up firing him. They brought in Coach Dickerson. We had a middle of the road season with Coach Dickerson. I kind of ran the option. mostly. And I think we went about 4-7 ish. And then the next season, I broke my foot the first game. And so when I broke my foot, they ended up losing a lot, and then they got fired, and then they brought you guys in.
Right.
So I think the difference in when y'all took over from Coach Dickerson to you guys, it was just you instilled a lot of confidence in a lot of guys. We won, we've been there, we did this, and we're gonna make y'all winners, and we're gonna give this to y'all, and we're gonna show y'all how to win. We're gonna show y'all how to act when you win, what it takes to win, how you got to go through practice, and what it takes to get to, and what it takes to be a winner or a champion. And a lot of the guys bought into it right then, because a lot of guys didn't want another coaching change. We already had been through 2, and then we just didn't want them just to hire anybody. So we kind of wanted to talk to the president and say, hey, can we put our word in for the next head coach? And we was talking about boycotting, but they already had hired you guys. You guys came in, and we bought in immediately.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you the backstory of how Donald Watkins was a board member. I'll give you the short story. He was looking for the best coach in the country. And of course, they were trying to talk about Alabama State moving to Division I. He said, well, if we move, because they already had the stadium that they play in now, they already had that on the board. So when they came down to visit, they said, well, who's the best black coaches in the country? Evidently, our names, me and my brother's name came up. And they came out and visited us and took us to steak dinner and recruited us big time. It's big time. And we agreed that we were going to come there and play. But while we on our way, once my brother resigned and then told my mama that Johnny don't need to be the head coach at Tennessee State, because Tennessee State had offered me the job after my brother left. And so, man, me being the little brother, I said, all right, man, damn it, I'm going. Where we going? So anyway, make a long story short, we up in the plane, great landing in Montgomery. They called us up in the plane. I never heard of that. They called you up in the plane because it was a private jet and said, the kids are boycotting. They don't want y'all here, So I remember LC said, hey, guys, don't worry about that. I'll handle that when we got there. And so finally we got there, and all the kids was in the auditorium with everything they wanted to say about what was going on. So that's how we got there. That's how it all started off. But they had recruited us to come there. So I didn't know if you even knew the backstory of how we got there. But one thing I knew, I said, they got a quarterback. We're going to be all right. My fiance said, did you boycott? Was you part of the boycott?
Well, I was part of the team, so the team do it. I got to do it. You know what I mean? So I can't be by myself. But I do remember that meet. I do remember our first meeting, Coach. Meeting, you brought me in the office and you said I wasn't nothing. And I said, "What? I just won freshman of the year. I was, all conference." And so that don't mean nothing. You get all your yards when the game over.
Right. and what's your record? That's what I say. What's your record?
What's your record? And all that, all the stats don't matter unless you're winning. Yeah, I remember all that.
That's it. I'm gonna let you guys go ahead. I know, Campbell, you got some stats and stuff, and we can't keep him long. He got to protect the judge tomorrow.
Well, Rocky, you want to go or you want me to go?
No, go ahead, Campbell. I'll defer to you.
All right. Well, listen here, Darnell. First of all, this is a pleasure. But, man, let me tell you something. And I kind of like to bring the historical perspective because I actually watched you play. Now, I'm going to bring something up because this week, who's playing makes a difference what I'm about to share. So as everybody knows, the game of the year is your alma mater against Jackson State. They're homecoming. But guess what? In 2001, it was their homecoming too. And guess what? I was in the building. I'm going to pull up something to show you all what happened in this game in 2001. Let me pull that up right here. And I want you to look at this. And let me know when you guys can see this. I'm going to try to see if I can make
Oh, my God.
Listen, now hold on, Rocky. Let me tell you how historic this game is. Wait a minute, hold on. let's see here. And I'll probably have to read it just to let everybody know. So Alabama State and Jackson State were 1-2. Okay. The quarterback that he was opposite of was Robert Superman Kent. Okay. There was a guy that was a wide receiver. Guess who his name is? T.C. Taylor, Jackson State's head coach. And then this game, I was sitting up here, this is homecoming. I bring all my homeboys from Atlanta. I said, man, listen, if you want to see something crazy, you got to come to me with Jackson State homecoming. They got this kid from Alabama State that's slinging, and Kent is crazy with it. So we're sitting up here, and man, all we see is touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. And Kent, and let me say this, you went for 5 touchdowns and 259. Kent went for was it 560? 560 and threw for a bunch of touchdowns. And T.C. Taylor had 14 catches for 200 yards. For 235 yards. Can you talk about that game? Do you remember that game and how crazy that game was going back and forth? And how history brings it back?
Man, that game was crazy. And it's crazy that they playing at the same time 25, 26 years later, right? So I know one thing I remember about that game. I remember about when I went to the stats. I was like, man, I had 5 touchdowns. I had to have about 500 yards. They said, man, you only threw for 200. I said, what? So, I think we had got a bunch of short fields and the running game was working pretty good. Man, it was just a shootout. I'm talking about we had to score every single drive. There was no drive we could take off. Every single drive, we had to go out there and score. We scored. We think we got the game under control. Then Kent come out there and he do his thing, and they go right down the field and they score. Then we had to come back and we score. And so eventually we had our last drive or so, we was trying to like run the clock out so they couldn't get the ball back. And then we ended up punching it in at the end. I think I threw a slant at the end to like seal it. And that kind of ended the game for us.
Let's get something straight. We led the whole game. Like we would go up 14, they would come right back. We go up another 7, they come right back. It was just back and forth. And that's
all you heard was the fans playing all night long. And Cats, Coach, you know I'm not lying. Because I wanted that
game must have lasted 5 hours.
It lasted 4 hours, Coach.
Right, because that game was in the day. Or was it
night? Yeah.
It started in the day.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, when we left out there, I'm like, the crazy thing, and I want to say this because I know we got to hear you there. What do you think about when you're talking about something historic? That was a historic game. You're talking, and same thing here. You're playing for the conference. That was the conference championship. Well, for that particular side,
it was.
And now you look at it 20 years, 25 years later, let's just say that, and you see an Andrew Bonney and you see the quarterback, Jacoby Morgan for Jackson State. Do you sit back and say, wow, this could be the same type of game? And have you followed that?
I did think that. I was at Alabama State's homecoming this weekend, and they were saying they had to go against Jackson State. And I said, whoa, Jackson State undefeated. They undefeated in the conference too. So this could be pretty much the same exact game that we just had back when I was playing, and it's gonna be at Jackson State. Now back then I didn't know it was Jackson State homecoming because I probably we should have scored 80 if I knew it was. They brought us in for their homecoming. But especially for them to go in there for their homecoming with the way Body's playing, with the way Jackson State quarterback is playing and their team is playing, man, that's set up to be a powerhouse matchup.
Well, I just had to get that out there because we got a lot of younger people, right? And they hear these names of Superman, Kent, and Kennedy and things like that. And I keep trying to tell people, man, we ain't new to this. We have had guys to have these great shootouts, these great teams, these great offense. I'm just keeping honest. Our offense is a little bit inept. It ain't like y'all day. You know what I mean? When we had that level of quality quarterback play. So it kind of hurts me. So I'm super excited because this is one of the few years, and I always say, and Nana, you're going to understand this, post-prime, people like Rocky, came in here with prime. The quarterback play has not been up to the standard when it was at your level, and when you're talking about Willie Todd and Steve McNair. So I'm super excited that we're going to see a quarterback battle in a big game like this. Yeah. Like I just had to put that out there. I'm going to let you go ahead and go.
No.
Let me get a backstory on that, too. The week before, we played Johnson C. Smith, and we scored 63. And then LC, like the head coach, he went to the quarterback meeting, and they like, oh man, that's Johnson C. Smith. We're gonna see what y'all do next week against Jackson State. But also, see, I didn't coach with no headsets, and I had on glasses. So they like, hey man, you gotta get your brother out the glass. He gotta put some headsets on. So then next week we roll into Jackson State, and talking to my man Darnell, he ended up putting 68 on Jackson State. So that kind of ended that.
Darnell, like I said, I recently watched your highlights, and you were a tremendous player, for sure. But you talked about how Coach Cole impacted you as a player. If you could name one or two things how he affected you as a player, can you just bring that out to see? Because here's my point. We always talk about when a quarterback position in the SWAC, one of the things is that it struggles because the coaches always end up pulling the quarterbacks, swapping quarterbacks. They're playing 2 guys, they're playing 3 guys. Coach Cole has always been a proponent that you find a guy and you stick with a guy and you develop that guy. But I want to know, what did Coach Cole put in you that allowed you to be the player that you were as a quarterback?
I mean, I don't know if you caught it earlier when he said that. He sat me down, and when I drive down the field and I get us down to the 5 and I end up throwing the interception previously, he sat me down in that office after he told me I wasn't nothing and all that kind of stuff. He said, you have to be the reason, not why we win, but you have to be the reason why your team believes they can win. You know what I mean? So it was so I did everything in my power as far as that's working harder, if that's watching more film, if it's learning more plays. I had to learn everybody's position so I can tell them what they had to do if they broke out of the huddle and didn't know what they was doing. So I had to be able to tell them, hey, you got to post on this. You got to dig on this route. I when we come up to the line and they give me the look I want, hey, coach, can I run this? Go ahead and run it. Hey, and we running it. So the faith that he had in me, the confidence that he had in me, really pushed me to be much better than I was in my freshman and sophomore year. And I was really good my freshman and sophomore year. But I tell everybody, man, I became great with them because he gave me that mindset of, you have to make these guys believe you're going to win. Not because you play quarterback, not because you Darnell Kennedy, not because you threw off all these yards. Only reason they're going to believe you're going to win is because you playing quarterback. And you got to do everything else other than giving me passing yards, completing passes, that's going to make them believe that. So you got to do all the small things, intangible things. That's being the last one off the field and after practice. That's the one taking all the reps in practice. I did scout teams sometimes. I might be running a couple routes in practice. You know what I mean? Just to let them know I'm here to do everything we can to make us win. And that just didn't stop at the game. That started in practice. That started, in the dorm room. That started in the calf. Whatever we did, I did that for my team.
Now, Rocky, we went and recruited a quarterback from Oklahoma State. All right, and we brought him in. Damn, I can't. Damn, what was his name, Darnell?
There you go, BJ.
BJ Tiger. Oklahoma State coach, 6'2", nice arm. I'm sitting in the room with both of them. I recruited both of them. I said, look, y'all both, and both of them was hella athletes. Here's the crazy part about it. I said, well, BJ, look here, man. This guy's he's in front of you. Just like the Shador Sanders and the kid at the Browns. The kid in front of Shador played that in that offense. Darnell was already set in our offense. And I just told BJ, man, look, I need both of y'all on this field. And I ended up moving him to wide out. And both of them made All-American. Both of them made the All-American team. Him in the wide out team.
Yeah, BJ ended up catching 1,000 yards. You've been 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah. So,
and people ask me what was my best year or best season. And was it the senior year or the junior year? I don't know if you know this, Coach, but my junior year, right? Because we was trying to look back and see why we didn't get to the championship game my junior year. And we was like, well, we don't have a 1,000-yard receiver. We didn't have a 1,000-yard back. So we got to get that in my senior year. And we ended up getting that in the senior year. But the junior year, I think we had about 4,000 yards passing, guys.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a single 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah.
We didn't have I think we had 2 with 9, 1 with 8, 2 tight ends with 600 yards. If you ask me what was my best college season, I will point to that junior season. Because everybody caught the ball. It was no favorites. It was nothing the defense could do to stop us.
The reason why we didn't go is because we lost to Alabama A&M in the Magic City Classic. We both had the same record. And I don't know, remember we had just won and we were waiting on Alabama A&M. They were playing Mississippi Valley and they were down.
And they were down.
Yep. Hail Mary to win the damn game. We was on our way to play Grambling again. And the next year we made it clear. We beat Alabama A&M. What we scored, about 50 on them?
Yeah, to 0. 45-0. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close. Yeah.
No, it wasn't even close.
Hey, we're going to take Coach, I need to step in here and do something right quick. Hey, I want to thank everybody who's been watching this on Off Script. As we usually do, we're going to suspend this live on the Off Script channel and continue it on the Rocky Miller channel, the home of the HBCU Coach's Corner. And you guys can go ahead.